In this week's parashat Vayishlach, Yaakov makes his way back home to the land of Israel, makes his way back home to face his brother Eisav. Now, when he left off with Eisav 22 years earlier, Eisav had threatened to kill Yaakov. So Yaakov is not so clear where is his brother holding right now. So he sends a message to his brother to figure out, okay, what's going on with his brother. Now, he's going to get a response that your brother is coming with 400 men to kill you. So the response is not going to be the best. But at the very beginning, it's unclear. God had told him in a dream, that an angel told Yaakov it's time to go back home. Where is Eisav holding? So he sends the initial message and he says to Eisav, Im Lavan garti b'achar ad ata. I've been living with Lavan. The Midrash says, Im Lavan garti v'tehag mitzvot shamarti. I've been living with Lavan. I'm still a Jew. I've been there until now. I've been a little bit delayed until right now. And then he says interesting words. Vayihili shor v'hamor. And I have an ox, I have donkey, and I have tzon ve'ebed v'shivcha. I have all this wealth. And I'm sending this message because I want to have nimtzochen beinecha. I want to gain favor in your eyes. And again, we said Esav's going to send back, the messengers are going to come back, the angels are going to come back and say to Yaakov, no, he's coming up with 400 men. He's coming to attack you. But what was this initial statement that Yaakov was saying? I'm coming with all of my wealth. And specifically, he starts off with a shor b'hamor. So in the mystical writings, I saw this beautiful, cool idea in the Shvilei Pinchas, the Belzer Rosh Kolel. So he focuses on the first two words. Why does Yaakov say, I have all this wealth, I have a shor and a hamor. Now, in truth, we spoke about this a little bit in a couple months ago in a previous recording, because there's a halacha that we're going to learn later on in the Torah that says, Lo taharosh b'shor v'hamor. There's a halacha that you're not allowed to mix an ox and a donkey together. When they're working together, you're not allowed to mix them, and you can't work the land with them together. It's considered to be, it's not nice. It's sar balei chayim, because they work at different speeds, they eat at different speeds, so it doesn't work well. But we have this interesting halacha, don't mix the shor v'hamor. Comes along the mystical writings and the Hasidic writings as well. You find it starting with the Zohar, but then going down through the different Hasidic writings, and they explain, lo tahosh shor v'hamor. Look at our parasha. What's our parasha all about? Yaakov says, I'm coming with the shor and the hamor. And actually they explain what's the shor and the hamor. The shor, the ox, corresponds to Yosef. Yaakov says, I'm coming back with the great Yosef. And we know that Yosef is the sitno de Eisav. Yosef is the guy that can fight against Eisav. Finally, that's the koah of Yosef, of Mashiach ben Yosef. He's the Bechor shor. That's his spirit animal. So he's compared to the shor. So he says, I have a Yosef that can fight against you. But Yosef is not enough. He also says, I also have a hamor. Who's the hamor? So Yisachar's spirit animal, he's compared to the hamor gadol. It corresponds to the yoke of the Torah that's on his shoulders. So I have Yisachar with the Torah. I have Yosef, who's the fighter. Eisav, you stand no chance, because I have my ox and I have my hamor. The mystical writings say, who's the shor and hamor normally? The shor corresponds to Eisav. Eisav is the shor. He's working the sadeh, he's working in the field, and they have sources that compare Eisav to a shor. And the hamor corresponds to Yishmael. We know that Yishmael, when they were going to the Akedah, the Na'arav that walked with Avraham and Yitzchak, and Avraham and Yitzchak continued to the mountain, and he told those two lads, you stay here with the hamor. Who are those two lads? It was Eliezer and Ishmael, and so Ishmael is compared to the hamor, he's compared to the donkey, so over Ishmael is compared to the hamor, and the shor compares to Eisav. So Yaakov is now responding, I have my shor and hamor, I have my Yosef and my Yisachar to fight against you, Eisav. It's not going to work. I am way too strong right now. But what is this halacha? Says the Kabbalah. What is this halacha that you can't mix the two together? So the idea is you can't mix Eisav with Yishmael. And whenever Eisav and Yishmael get together, and there's all this big Torah that corresponds to that, to World War II, to the Holocaust, when the Mufti of Jerusalem meets up with Hitler, when the two get together, it makes major destruction in the world. You can't mix Eisav and Yishmael together. Now, when did Eisav and Yishmael actually get together? So the truth is, if you back it up 2 parshas ago, that after Yaakov took the brachot from Eisav, when he tricked his father Yitzchak to get the brachot, so it says that at that point Eisav wants to kill him, so he runs away. But Rivka makes this whole story and tells over a second reason to Yitzchak. We got to send away Yaakov. He has to go away, not because I'm scared that Esav's going to kill him. She doesn't tell him that part, but because he has to marry into my family. Like we know, we don't like it when the Jews marry out. And Yishmael sees this. He had already married out. He'd already married a bunch of Canaanites. And he sees that his parents were really not happy. He married 2 women that came from the locals. It's not what his family wanted. So he says, now I want to make a tikkun. Now that I see that they're sending Yaakov away to marry into the family in Haran, so maybe I could find someone that's a little bit more worthy. So Esav's not getting up and he's not moving to Haran. Esav is also not going to divorce his initial wives. We see his motives aren't that pure, but he tries to make some kind of a fixing. So what does he do? Vayelech Eisav el Yishmael. This is back in Bereshit, Perek Kaf Chet, Pasuk Tet. get, he goes over to the Yishmael, he goes over to his cousins, and Vayikach et, and he goes to his uncle, and Vayikach et Mahalat bat Yishmael, and he takes the daughter of Yishmael ben Avraham to be one of his wives. So we see over here that that now he's, I'm to make my parents happy, to make Yitzchak and Rivka happy. Actually, Eisav is always more concerned with Yitzchak than he is with Rivka, but to make my father happy, let me go and marry into my grandfather Avraham's family. Let's take Yishmael's daughters, and he takes on a third wife of Mahalat. Okay. Say the Makubalim, that's really, really dangerous, because why was he doing that? What was his plan? So here's the cool idea that I saw. Says the Shvilei Pinchas, Avraham is known to be the pillar of Chesed. And we know Avraham had two kids. He had a Yitzchak and he had a Yishmael. He says Yishmael is like the psod. He's the shmutz. He's the negative klipa that came out of Avraham. And with Yishmael came a certain level of a klipa, of a negative energies of Chesed. We know that, you go to the Arab world, come into my house, let me give you tea, let me do that, let me do all this Chesed, and then ultimately a lot of balagan happens afterwards. But there's this negativity of Chesed comes from Yishmael. And when it comes to then Yitzchak, he has two kids. He has an Eisav and he has a Yaakov. And Yitzchak is known, his midah is gvura. It's the strict justice, it's the din. And it says that Eisav, he took on himself the klipa, the negative energies of gvura. So meaning that the good character trait of Avraham comes into Yishmael in a negative type of way, with a negative energy, and the good character trait of Yitzchak comes in a negative energy of Eisav. So now, what's the koah of Yaakov? We actually spoke last week in a Dvar Torah that Yaakov has the ability to, in his hands, the yadayim of Yaakov, the yuds of Yaakov, has the ability to fight against the Yishmael and Eisav. Why could Yaakov fight against both? Where does that koah come from Yaakov? Because Yaakov is the character trait known as Tiferet, where he's the synthesis of his grandfather and his father. So while you have the two character traits that are the extreme, you have a chesed on one side and a gevura on the other side. So Avraham has the chesed, okay, that produces a Yishmael, and I know that Avraham is tied when it comes to Yishmael in certain ways. Yitzchak is tied when it comes to Eisav, but Yaakov's character trait is the synthesis of both his father and his grandfather's character trait, and that's already something a lot more powerful than Eisav and Yishmael when they're by themselves. And that's why the koah comes out and says the Shvilei Pinchas, that's what Eisav realized right now. Why does Eisav, after the brachas are stolen from him, why does now he go and marry into the family of Yishmael? Because he realized, how was Yaakov so strong? He was so strong because he doesn't have the character trait of Yitzchak, so I have no control against him, and he doesn't have the character trait of Avraham that Yishmael can fight against. He rather has a synthesis of the two that's much, much stronger. So says Eisav, I have to make children now that are also a synthesis of these two. And that's when he goes to Mahalat and he marries her, because now we have an Eisav Yishmael duo, and that creates the danger that Zohar speaks about. Their progeny can now cause real problems to the Jewish people. But that's why at the start of our parasha, Yaakov comes back and says, listen, I'm flexing right now, because I even, not only do I embody these two traits, but look at my 12 sons, look at my kids. I have two of them that can compete against anything you have right now. I have myself, my Shor and my Hamor. I have my Yosef. I have my Yisachar. There's no standing a chance against me. Shabbat Shalom.